Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking MPC Stems, which are finally available, except it's only in the software mode. I've got an MPC Key 37 in front of me, and it is currently in controller mode, controlling the software on my Mac Mini M2. So I want to give some thoughts and general review on the stem separation process. And also, it's coming from the perspective of someone that doesn't really sample vinyl records anymore. I used to in the past, like 15 years ago, but the whole copyright thing kind of stung me. So I ended up focusing on just playing the sounds that I generally want, more so than sampling. So you might think the stem separation is not useful for someone like me, but it has some interesting possibilities. So we're gonna explore some of those, and again, I'll talk about my thoughts on it afterwards. So like I said, MPC Key 37, it's in controller mode, controlling the software on the computer. So if I go to the sampler, I have access to basically all of my inputs for my audio interface, which is a Motu 828ES. Now I did hook up a cable from my headphone jack outputs and inputted them into one of my stereo pairs for the audio interface. So I can play anything off YouTube and sample it, and then we're gonna stem separate it. Before we do that though, I need to quickly explain. So if you do want access to the stem separation, it does cost money. It's 10 bucks, and Akai did give me a license to do this, so FYI and upfront, I did get an activation for free from Akai. It is the same type of stuff with the plugins here. So you'll activate it, and you also only have 3 activations per license. So if you have a computer and an MPC, that's 2 activations, and you have 1 more activation left after that. So if you have, like, say 3 MPCs in a computer, then you're gonna have to buy an additional license to be able to activate all of them at the same time. Akai's activation system can also be a bit shoddy, being perfectly upfront with you guys. In fact, when I first got the MPC Key 37, which was sent to me from Akai, by the way, I did not purchase the Key 37. They sent it to me for a review for the channel. But when I first got it, it basically wouldn't activate any plugins for almost a day. And it seems like whenever you get a new MPC and attach it to your InMusic account, it seems to take like 24 hours for it to even register that you can activate plugins on there. So it's a little weird, honestly. Okay, with that out of the way, let's sample some stuff from YouTube. So to start out, I figured I'd sample my wife and I with the track that we did about a month ago on our music channel. I'd capture a bit of this and stem separate it and see the results, okay? I'm gonna call it Tefty Memes for now. We're just gonna keep it. And then if we go sample, let's hit play. Okay, so we have this little selection right here. We have a stems option now. I'm gonna hit stems, and it says use trim sample, which is what we want. I'm not gonna assign it to any pads right now. We have vocals, bass, drums, and other. It's pretty straightforward, but in case you don't know, vocals is vocals. Bass is obviously whatever bass instrument's in there. Drums, percussion elements, and other will be everything else. So piano, keys, guitars, anything that's in there that would be like horns, strings, they all fall in there. Now, this is an electronic track, obviously. So what's interesting is basically everything's synthesizers except for the voice and drums. And I'm curious how that's gonna sound in the stem separation. So let's do that. Create stems, do it. There we go, we got our stems right here. Let's hear the bass first. So what's interesting is you definitely hear the AI trying to simulate an actual bass guitar when it's not a bass guitar. It's a bass synth bass. It's a Model D, essentially a Behringer Model D. So it's funny how it's like trying to create something that doesn't exist. I mean, that's obviously what it's doing with the stem separation, but it's trying to make a synth bass into an actual stringed bass that someone's playing. So kind of interesting, you know, it's different for sure. Let's hear the drums. Interesting. Let's hear the vocals. I saw you coming from the fire. I hear you calling my name, calling my name. Okay. I mean, you can definitely hear elements of the track in there. This is everything else other. Whoa. It's actually pretty cool. Even if you don't sample vinyl records, you could use something like this to process your own tracks and get some interesting different textures that are gritty. If you want to take something that's very clean to begin with and get some strange digital grit, this actually does a pretty good job. Let's chop some of this up. It's actually a pretty cool sample right there by itself. I probably should have normalized the original sample, but I didn't. Okay, convert. I'm gonna make that into a new thing. So we got the other. Let's hear drums again. I'm gonna have it threshold chop this. And then we had the vocals as well. I'm gonna also just like do threshold chop initially. That's pretty cool. Convert. Okay, so we got some of those. I want to sample some other stuff too. And I was thinking about sampling Ricky Tinez. So I'm going to go over to YouTube again and do that. So we'll go sampler. Call it Ricky. I'm going to start right here. We're going to do stems. Yeah, everything on here, use the trim sample, do it. Cool. Drums. I'm also going to grab a sample from John Makes Beats. Go sampler and record. Say John Makes Beats. I think we'll just take this chunk right here and process the stems. So there's no vocals. I'm going to take those out. Bass, drums, and other. We want that. So let's do it. Bass. What does it sound like? We're going to normalize this. Normalize. There we go. Interesting noise in there. Normalize the drums. Normalize. Interesting. All right, I normalized some of the other stuff on here. It's so funny how it tries to make a bass guitar. So interesting how there's this like hum in the recording from that. I don't think that's in my system, but maybe it is. Convert. There we go. All right, I have no idea if I'm going to be able to actually make anything out of this. We're just going to see what happens and kind of go from there. Mine has a bit of that high-end pitch hum too. I wonder if I'm getting some sort of feedback from chaining the headphone amp back into the system. It could be. It could be causing some issues. It's actually a pretty cool snare. We're going to go like 145 BPM. Just feel things out. Maybe go 8 bars to work with. Definitely want that to be my snare. Also going to edit everything here. I'm going to say all samples. One thing I like to do is go over to the filter, change the regular filter over to one of these models, like Model 1. Or Model 3 is more darker. Okay, one thing we're going to do is throw air tube drive on here. Throw the Flavor Pro. Grab some hats from Ricky's kit. See about dropping the pitch of this kick. Do the same thing on the snare as well. Let's once again throw some seasoning on there. Next up, Air Vintage Filter. I've actually been really enjoying this one, but we're going to use the bandpass on here. Going to get rid of the movements. Put Air Delay Pro in there. It's not quite in time with this, but it kind of works. I'm gonna do it like this. Let's hear it by itself. Bit too much of those drums are bleeding through, but kind of adding to the vibe, you know? So I think what I'm gonna do, throw a granulator on there. I kind of want to like blur it up. Now, Air Flavor Pro. Scoop out some low end, bring some of that high end back. Get rid of this gain. I almost always get rid of the clicks and pops. Let's hear it. It's in G minor. So let's see what the vocals say. Can't remember what the vocals are. It says D minor. Interesting. I'm going to bring this all the way down. See what happens if I pitch it up. Ooh. Yeah, that's actually pretty tight. What is this in D minor? Yeah. I need to hear this. Now, we could use a bass from the samples. Could like take a sample and stretch it, or we could load up Mini D, which is probably what I'm gonna prefer. Let's go Mini Thump. One of my faves. So I need to decide on some sort of harmony here. There's the implied D minor to G minor that's going back and forth right now. I'm definitely feeling that. I typically like to have things go a bit further than just like kind of 2-bar repeats, you know, because that's kind of how it feels. So I'll usually do like 4 chords essentially, or try to have something that would feel like a 4-chord phrase that would kind of jump back and forth. But before we do that, I'm going to do a little more processing in this bass sound. I'm going to take off timing correction as well because I want to retain as much vibe as possible. And then if anything is obviously incorrect, I'll go and time correct it individually. Let's try it again. Feeling it, but I need to do some Mother Ducker on the kick. Okay, I need to wrap up this video. So interesting being able to take samples from not only your own stuff, obviously sampling off YouTube. There is some legalities involved in that if you sample something off YouTube, technically you don't own the copyright to be able to do that. And if you make something that's banging and then you sell it, you're technically breaking the copyright law unless you go and actually contact the people you sampled from. So just want to throw that out there for transparency's sake so you understand. But it is a cool way of grabbing stuff off the internet. Should you pick up stems? Are you sampling off a vinyl already to begin with? Then I see no reason not to pick it up if you're using a modern MPC and you want to sample and process things. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And $10 is honestly not that much money. Thankfully, it's not like $60 or something like that. The quality of the stem separation is questionable. It's probably gonna get better over time as well. But you know, if you're thinking you're gonna get like these pristine samples from separating something off of a vinyl record, chances are it's going to have a lot of artifacts. Chances are it's going to sound pretty dirty, a lot of bleed through, you know, but it's definitely better than like EQing stuff out. So technically it's your best bet at that point. And obviously you could process stuff on the computer with other services. I haven't personally looked at those because again, my workflow doesn't involve that much like stem separation sampling type of stuff from like vinyls or other sampling other records. But if you are curious about the stem separation on the MPC, I would definitely investigate the other options out there first, because you still have to use the software mode on the computer to be able to even access this at the moment. Now that is going to change down the road in however many months. So it will be available for the hardware standalone at some point, but I'd imagine that the quality is going to be on the same level of what you're hearing right now. But again, if you use this type of stuff, I see no reason not to just plop down the 10 bucks and activate it for your account and have access to it right away. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. If you enjoy the content and want to support the channel beyond a like and subscribe, then if you're planning on picking up any gear like an MPC Key 37 or a synth or anything like that, using the affiliate links below helps out the channel. So thank you if you do that. Let me know if you're going to pick up the stem separation capabilities. And yeah, I'll see you next time for another one. Peace.